The Battle of Midway
took place on June 3rd through the 6th in 1942 in an area called the Midway Atoll in the Pacific Theater. The United States successfully baited the Japanese Navy into a trap near the island of Midway and symbolized a turning point in the war.
The United States intelligence was unable to decipher Japanese invasion plans for the Pacific Theater, location code AF. On Pearl Base in Hawaii and in Washington, D.C., codebreakers were working hard to crack the Japanese code. Many women were codebreakers in World War II and served a huge role in the U.S., being able to read the code and translate the encrypted messages. These codebreakers made a huge difference in the war and made it possible to defend Midway. The person leading the operations was a man named Lieutenant Commander Joseph Rochefort. The cryptanalysis on his team worked with some linguists to try and decipher the codes sent by the Japanese to help prevent an attack on the islands. Since they were getting better at deciphering Japanese codes in April of 1942, they were eventually able to easily break into Japan's main operating code, Japan-25B. Rochefort was so confident that AF was Midway that he sent the message on a known tapped wire that said that Midway was low on fresh water. Japan took the bait and confirmed to Ultra, which is US intelligence, that Midway was indeed AF. This was his way of convincing Washington, D.C. that he knew he was right. Not only did it provide crucial intelligence information for a brief time, but it also gave the United States Navy an opportunity to lay a sophisticated trap to lure the Japanese fleet.
Japan was, ironically, relying on the element of surprise when planning the invasion of Midway. They thought they could use the same tactics that they used to invade Pearl Harbor. However, little to their knowledge, they were going to give the US intelligence every last detail about their supposedly secret plan.
Japan began their advances on June 3rd, traveling east under the command of the fleet's commander-in-chief, Isoroku Yamamoto. He was confident that he could catch the U.S. aircraft carriers defenseless. Yamamoto was warned by other Japanese generals that invading Midway might be a trap. Yamamoto ignored them, feeling confident enough to charge in exactly according to plan.
Everything that could have gone wrong for the Japanese fleet did go wrong on June 4th. They began their attempted raid at the crack of dawn, hoping to catch the U.S. sleeping. They sent their 108 bombers from their 4 aircraft carriers, the Kaga, the Akaki, the Soru, and the Hiryu. At 7:10 a.m., the Japanese first carriers striking the Air Force came into contact with the first wave of American bombers under the control of U.S. Admiral Chester Nimitz. The American bombers caught the entire Japanese fleet at the worst time possible, while they're refueling the Japanese aircraft. By 10:25 a.m., 3 of the 4 Japanese carriers were either sunk or scuttled, with the 4th, Hiryu, attempting to escape. It didn't get far before it was attacked at 5:30 p.m. and scuttled at 6:30 p.m. This wasn't exactly a flawless victory for the Americans, however.
The destroyer USS Haman provided cover for the disabled carrier USS Yorktown during its salvage operations, but unfortunately the Haman was sunk in minutes by a Japanese submarine. The USS Yorktown was also hit by a torpedo and sunk.
In the Battle of Midway, Japan ended up losing an estimated 3,000 sailors and airmen, and 320 planes in addition to 4 heavy carriers and the 1 cruiser. The United States did lose 150 planes, 1 carrier, 1 destroyer, and 317 sailors, airmen, and marines. On June 6th, the Japanese ordered their ships to retreat, effectively ending the Battle of Midway. After the Battle of Midway, Japan aborted the idea of continuing to conquer throughout the Pacific and remain defensive the rest of the war. The United States then started to use the island hopping strategy to take back and regain control of most of the islands in the Pacific. Since Japan lost 4 crucial carriers, it made it very difficult to continue to try to conquer the rest of the Pacific. Midway also allowed for the U.S. to advance in Japanese code breaking, making it easier for the United States to see what major attacks they were planning. The destruction of the attack on Pearl Harbor ended up being partially equalized by the Battle of Midway. The United States did end up losing 1 aircraft carrier, but it was almost nothing compared to what Japan lost in the Battle of Midway.
The reason why Midway was such a turning point in both the war and history itself is because it allowed the United States to advance in code breaking and naval strategy, as well as putting Japan on the defensive for the rest of the war. The battle also proved that code breaking was key to any sort of naval battle, and it would set a precedent for the rest of the war and every single naval battle going forwards. It also made incredible strides in diversity and allowing women and indigenous peoples into helping the United States in more ways than what was previously allowed. The United States was able to use the island hopping strategy to their advantage for the rest of the war without having to worry that Japan would fight back by trying to retake islands. Once the United States took the islands, Japan was not going to try and take them back. Midway was able to change the course of the war and subsequently history itself just by proving that the resiliency of the United States was great enough to make it a world superpower.